What's up, y'all? You're now listening to the What Now podcast. I'm Dr. Spencer Dupre, owner of Empower Chiropractic.
And I am Dr. Zach Thompson, owner of Within Chiropractic. The purpose of this podcast is to document and share the experiences of two young business owners as we open our own brick-and-mortar chiropractic practices. Join along as we discuss all of our wins, our losses, insights, and the many, many lessons we learned.
As a disclaimer, none of this is ever intended to be medical, legal, or financial advice. Yo. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the What Now podcast. And I just got a text message. So, what's up, y'all? I'm Dr. Spencer Dupre, one of your co-hosts here, the What Now podcast, and my buddy Zach Thompson, owner of Within Chiropractic in Colleyville. He always says that when he's on here. He is out of office today, and he's unable to make our normal recording times. So, I will be here solo dolo with you guys, and I'm super excited to be able to do a solo cast, and this is really an interesting opportunity for me just to basically talk to myself, and but in turn talk to all of you guys. And so thanks so much for tuning in today, and I'm really excited to kind of get into what we have here. Zach and I have been talking about how we want to share wins every single week with you guys, and so I'm going to do that too, even though he's not here. So what is a win with me? Man, today has been a super busy day. It's Wednesday, February, March the 1st, Wednesday, March the 1st. And it's been a pretty busy day today. And what's been really cool about today is that there's been a ton of brand new babies in the office. And man, it's so cool and such an honor to be able to take care of these babies and to be able to care for mom and dad, and then see them, be met with the birthing process, and then go through birth, and then come back into the office, like literally the first thing that they do, and say, "Hey, can you check my baby, and can you check us?" And man, what an honor that is. And so that is a super duper big win for me, is just to be able to take care of the little ones and have them come into the office and be able to provide hope and answers and help these families out. Really just be the best parents that they can be, even though I'm not a parent, but knowing that when there is a clear functioning nervous system at work, that anything is possible, and to be able to measure these babies at such a young age and be able to scan these kids with the CLA system. It's been really neat to just see these babies and just see them grow up happy and healthy, and meet them before there's anything going on that would necessitate any sort of restorative care. So yeah, that's my win. And I think that kind of plays into a little bit today of what I want to talk about with you guys. And that is passion, right? And where to fuel your passion and how to direct your passion, right? And, we come into chiropractic school, whether, whichever way you do. And I mean, for me, it was something that I felt a calling for, but I know some of my friends, it's something that they felt was either, a good education opportunity, or it's what their family does, or it was something, I didn't get into school like this. And, all of those are great ways to come in, but what really matters is what really matters to you. And, first and foremost, it's important to acknowledge, everybody matters in some way, shape, or form, and everyone has a passion whether they can pour out into other people. And so if you feel like you can't tap into that, maybe that's an indicator that you can do some self-work and some deep dive. And I know, specifically for me, by me, doing self-tests like the Enneagram and the Working Genius and all these things, it helps give me a really good insight and clues into what my key motivators are. And, as a 4 on the Enneagram, my biggest core motivator is authenticity and self-expression, and to be myself, and to not, really be changed or influenced by others, but to come from a place where things are coming authentically. And I know in the super vitalistic side of chiropractic school. That's like a really big thing. And we have all these friends that talk about like, yes, I want it to be me, and I want it to be natural, and I want it to be authentic, and all of these things. And so they're like, yeah, we're not going to do any sort of objective measures or anything like that. And, that's awesome. But I'll talk a little bit about my experience with the Insight scans and why I think they're so important and why I get fired up about them. So for those of you who don't know, the Insight scanning technology is created by CLA, the Chiropractic Leadership Alliance. The current CEO and lead guy, the face of CLA, is our homie Dr. David Fletcher. He's awesome, super, super smart guy. And I think it'd be really cool to kind of have him on the podcast at some point. But anyway, he runs this company, the Chiropractic Leadership Alliance, that has this technology called the Insight scanning technology or Insight system. And what it is a chance to just look deeper into the functioning of the nervous system. And so this isn't like your analysis tech. What it is and how Dr. David explains what the Insight tech is, it's just a way to look and gain insight, really is what he uses, to how the nervous system is functioning at its current state. And we know people who are coming in expressing things like symptoms and of all kind of sorts are expressing those things due to a state of subluxation in the body or subluxation in the nervous system, which means the interference of so subluxation is a condition of a vertebra that has lost its proper juxtaposition with the one above, the one below, or both, that interferes with the transmission of mental impulses, right? So what all that means is basically is that there's some sort of misalignment, miscommunication between the body and the nervous system. And what it's doing is it's interfering with the body's ability to transmit proper signal to and from other locations in the body, up and down the spinal cord, right? And so we know that, and that is defined by Stevenson in volume 14, the chiropractic textbook, and written in 1927. And it's, we know those things, but the community doesn't. And this is why I think that it's so important to have something to measure, because just this last week, I was fortunate enough to partner with City Lifestyle magazine, and they asked me to be the featured editorial in their very first edition, their launch edition. And what the editorial was it was a 2-page spread. They came and took some pictures of my office and and they asked me some questions about, just me, what I do and everything. And I was really able to share my story with these people and really able to share where my heart was and how it was in alignment with my faith. And they asked me if I'd be willing to provide them with a more formal interview deal, so that they could write a story from it. Long story short, they wrote the story, and the magazine goes out today, actually March 1st, but some pre-editions of the magazine went out to other people. And this one lady called me and asked me if we could meet up for coffee. And I was like, okay, sure. Now, it turns out this lady is a psychologist that her office is, just right down the street from mine, that I've never heard of before. And what she does is specialize in psychological services for people with neurodivergence, which is what she calls it. So people who are dealing with things like ADD, ADHD, autism, Asperger's, whatever, all those things. People who are registered on the spectrum, quote, which I come to find out that is a very limiting term for these individuals who solely express the function and the communication to and from their nervous system in a completely different way. And so she comes into the office and, we're chatting and everything. I'm like, hey, thank you so much for wanting to come out here and meet. Can I ask, what sparked your interest into coming here? What made you reach out? And she said, yeah, I talked to the people from the magazine, And they said like, hey, you guys might be some good people to connect. And so then she looked into my website and she looked into all the things. And she came in here and she says, and I had some questions for you because when we do, what does she call it? When they do their testing and diagnostics on these people, when they do like overall analysis, what she said, and this is what's so crazy. She says, I have a hunch that there is something that is this underlying condition that goes so frequently undiagnosed that has to relate with distortion in connective tissue, specifically the neural connective tissue. And it affects the way that the brain communicates with the body and the cognitive potential of people. And she's like, but there's no word for that. And I was like, man, that's so crazy because, as chiropractors, all we do is talk subluxation. All we do is talk subluxation. But we're so ingrained in this like culture of trying to validate ourselves as a profession that we think that we as chiropractors, we reduce ourselves to back and neck pain and headaches, and we reduce ourselves to who can get the loudest cracks out of these bones. Like, oh yeah, come in, I'm gonna crack your neck. And then you think that you are like this like savior of the world, but all we're doing is creating ignorance around an answer that people are searching for so deeply. And so for this lady to come in who's been doing these psychological services for over 20 years now, and she just opened up this brand new office in 2018 right down the street from me, to be able to provide her not only with information from what I know, but also research articles that document the effects of subluxation on people that I was provided with through the pediatric experience and Dr. David Fletcher with CLA, to be able to give her these resources and encourage her in her walk to help people and to bring people closer to their full potential and who they are, and help them understand that God has made them perfectly. Like, to be able to go and sit eye to eye with another provider, with someone who has completely different training, it's insane to be able to say like, well, this is what I deal with every single day. Like, this is what I actually do. Like, the thing that you were talking about, like your quote, lifelong like search, and like this thing that you were like, oh man, I must like, there has to be something else that nobody addresses, to say like the one thing that you are searching for, that is the only thing that I address, is insane. And then to be able to say like, hey, I can confidently say that I can measure the effects of this distortion in the nervous system through this equipment. And what it does is not point a finger and say like, this bad, this good, but it's saying like, this is all the potential that we have to make so much radical impact and change in these people's lives, but not only in these people's lives, in these families' lives. And so that is why I stand by my use of objective measures, is because, one, it allows people to understand and really visualize and put literally a figure to all the things that they cannot fabricate, that they have been dealing with for forever. So many doctors disempower people in their health journey because it is so much just like, well, this is what I say and it goes, right? But as a 4 on the Enneagram, I am very discerning in the ways that I take information from people, because I don't want to be saying other people's words based off of experiences that I have not had, and misrepresenting myself poorly, right? And then if somebody were to say like, well, why? And I'd be like, and it's okay. Like, you don't have to have all the answers, but like, if you're just like talking out your butthole all the time and you're just like beat bopping around with your conversations, then you're never going to deliver a really solid, effective message that not only just like gains people's interest, but also gains their trust, builds certainty in you as the provider, but also, like, the most important part, giving them hope. And so by saying like, hey, I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to listen to what you're saying, but then also we're going to be able to measure to where we can actually put a figure to the things that you cannot put a finger on, and it gives people the empowerment, right? I guess, I mean, to stay on the topic, it gives people the empowerment to actually say, like, there is something that I can do about this. And then you're not just another one of those doctors to say, like, well, we'll do this and try it out, right? Because, I mean, that's all a prescription is. All a prescription is saying, like, hey, we are going to put you on this antibiotic and we're going to see what happens. And, I mean, so what is any different than, hey, we're going to crack your neck and we're going to see what happens, you know? So being able to say, like, hey, we're measuring your nervous system and we are going to, I mean, I guess it's kind of the same thing, but we're going to measure your nervous system and then we're going to be able to track your progress over the entirety of your care plan. And we're consistently going to be walking with you through this journey so that we can champion you and champion your health going forward. And, I mean, people come into the office all the time and, like, can't wait to get my next set of scans. Like, can't wait to see my set of scans. And we think as chiropractors that the most important part of what we do is the adjustment. You know, people, like, we can't wait to, like, get people on the table, but we don't have the skills and the knowledge and the certainty to tell them, like, hey, when you get on this table, you're going to get up changed. You're going to get up different, right? We're going to stir something inside you. Something is going to be reconnected, you know, and at least for parents with children who are, you know, working through their perfect storm, like, that is something that they're looking for. They're looking for someone who is very certain, but someone who they can trust, but also someone who's going to guide them, right? Because, like, these burdens, and like in the vitalistic scene, like, we talk about, like, non-attachment all the time, right? And so being able to, like, guide people, but also understand, like, hey, like, this isn't my thing, like, for you to fight, this isn't my thing for me to fight for you, right? Like, my job is to, like, hold your hand, like, when you need, and then, like, be here to be your cheerleader on the side, right? Now I'm here to support you through your walk. You know, I mean, if you have a meal prep guy, you know, he's not going to be there to eat the food for you. His job is just to make sure that you have the tools to do whatever you need to get either lean or bulk up or whatever. But these people are not there to do the things for you. And, you know, it's the same thing for us. Like, I feel like we hold so much attachment, like, to the results. But if, like, we would just, like, let go a little bit and just trust that we work with a beautiful profession that has the infinite potential to change people, like, and we just say, like, hey, this is what my analysis says, and I'm certain in the fact that this is exactly what you need. And, like, it would, how many lives would that change? How much more at peace would you be like, hey, I know for a fact that I delivered the most necessary and required adjustment for this person right here, right? Instead of us being like, breathe in, breathe out, and then you jump on them like you're coming off the top rope in WWE, and then you rub their back and say, like, how did that feel, right? I mean, like, what is that? Like, how are you as the doctor being like, how did that feel? You know, and it's okay to check in with your people, but, like, to like, push on someone and then look for validation in yourself after, right? Because is that what we're really doing? Like, are we really, like, adjusting these people and then asking, like, well, how do you feel? Because, like, we really care and we want to check in on their subjective measurements? Or are we really doing it for self-validation so that you can say, like, if someone's like, oh yeah, I feel good, then you're like, how did that feel? And they're like, oh, I feel better. And you're like, okay, I'm good at my job for another day, right? Like, I mean, how many times do we do that? And, you know, by saying that, I think back, like, man, how many times did I do that? And how many times have I done that? You know, just thinking back on it today, I mean, like, I unconsciously, I guess, did that today. And, you know, lady saying, like, oh, the middle of my back is tight, you know, and then so she gets off the table and, like, well, how does your back feel now? And she's like, oh, that's better. And it's like, okay, I can breathe for a second because I'm not scared that this lady's going to call me a quack. And, you know, I think to tie that back into, like, what we talked about, passion, it's like, man, but not only passion, but conviction. Maybe that's what I meant to say at the beginning, conviction, right? The conviction to stand in your knowing and in your certainty and be like, hey, like, this is exactly what you need. I stand by it and I'm not going to back down, right? Like, man, like, people have to know about what we do. Like, there's so many answers to so many people's questions that they search for their entire lives. And we have these things, but yet we don't tell people about them, and we're not certain that we can deliver these goods. Like, it's crazy. I mean, like to look at these parents. So like I have a family that I take care of, and their doctor, whoever they were seeing, saying like, hey, like your son is at a 90% risk of having CF. And she was saying like the life expectancy has shot up. She's like, it's great from 7 years old to like 40. But it's like, man, that's crazy to like have to look your child, like the way that these parents like look at you whenever they tell you that some other doctor has said like, hey, your child is just basically, we're going to just give up on this kid. And it sucks for him to suck. For them to say that, and the parents look so defeated and tell you that, and for you to just be like, well, that's what it is. Like, I can never ever stand by and have parents be like, and tell parents like, that just is what it is. I mean, if my mom would have been like, yeah, I'm paralyzed, I'm in this wheelchair, and like it just is what it is, like who knows where I would be now. Like, honestly, probably working on a tugboat doing drugs or something, and not to say that those two things correlate, but those were both very like prevalent in the town that we grew up in, is drugs and oil field work. Not in relation, but all that to be said, like, man, like when I know that, like, hey, like I don't know all the ins and outs of cystic fibrosis, and hey, I don't know all the ins and outs that your other providers working for you, but what I do know and what I can stand on, and the hill that I will die on, and where I will plant my flag, is that when the nervous system is clear of interference and clear of subluxation, that life can be fully expressed to its fullest potential, and that innate intelligence adapts forces of matter for use in the body, so that all parts can have coordinated action for mutual benefit. Like, I know that, like, that is for a fact, and that our bodies are these intelligent beings that have the potential to do all these things. And like, man, like you have to tell people these things, and we have to be able to measure them and show them like, hey, based on you and your measurements, and based on this technology, like there is a way to help, instead of just being like, yes, I think this is good for you. Do you want it? How many people like get that, right? What is the difference between you at a screening and the wine salesman at Kroger whenever you're looking at milk and they're trying to get you to buy wine? What is the difference between you and anybody else selling anything, right? It's all depending on your sales skills. But when you have these objective measurements that you can say like, Mom, this is where your kid is at, this is the potential that they have, and this is what what I recommend in my conviction, this is what it's going to take to get you from A to B. Do you want to do this? Yes or no? And like, are we getting on this journey together? What's the difference of you being like, man, your hip is out, you should come back in and let me put it in? What is the difference between you doing that and being like, do you want this bottle of wine today? Nothing. Literally nothing. Your hip is out. Like, that's awesome that you can do that, and it's great to like raise people's awareness on spinal biomechanics and those things. But to be able to say like, we work with the subtle substance of life and the thing that controls all of the body's functions, and that I can actually give you a picture of what is going on with your body and put an image to everything that no one can help guide you through, like that is insane. And I was talking to my mom like this week, and I was saying like, yeah, well, like this baby, like he's in the hospital, and the last thing I want for him to do if he's at 90% risk of CF is to get all sorts of injections and all these other kinds of things that may cause some sort of subluxation in his system. And it doesn't matter what it is, right? I mean, if the baby is in the hospital for too long and they have fluorescent lights, it could cause too much stress on his system, right? It doesn't matter what it is. But I know for a fact that the longer that this baby is born and stays subluxated, the longer that subluxation sets up shop, the longer period of that we're letting symptoms and dis-ease manifest in his body. And I was like, yeah, I mean, if I wouldn't go out and, say like, yes, I will see your child, even though he has said this, this, and this, like I'm missing my calling, I'm missing my purpose, and I'm a hypocrite because, I said that when I open this practice, like this is going to be the place that when everyone else says no, I say like, yes, I will be here with you. Like, I will stand next to you in your trials and in your tribulation. I will be the one to hold your hand. That I'm not there to tell people like, yes, I'm Jesus Christ, I'm a savior. Like, we only have one savior that has come down for this world and sacrificed his life for, all of our sins. But so I'm nobody's savior, but what I am is a friend and a shoulder for people to be there for, And if we're not passionate about it, like, it doesn't matter if you want to see kids with autism. It doesn't matter if you want to see moms who are pregnant. It doesn't matter if you want to see back pain Bob. It doesn't matter if you want to see the highest level of athletes, but it matters if you care. And if you don't care about what you do, then who's going to care about what you do, right? If you don't care. All that being said, that's why I measure and that's why I do these things, is because there's a way to give these parents answers that they have been searching for without having to come across as the salesman or whatever. And for those of you who haven't seen the CLA stuff, and what it does is it doesn't tell you like you're adjusting C5 on the right and push here and do that. But what it does tell you is that this is how the nervous system is responding in its current state, in the current subluxated state that it is. And so what you do is you run your analysis, whatever you want to be. If you want to be in a box and say like, I'm a Thompson doctor, I'm a TRT doctor, I'm a diversified doctor. And to me, like, man, like, I mean, I'm a chiropractor, so if it falls under chiropractic, that's what I do. Not under the state scope of chiropractic, because, we could then do everything pretty much. But no, if it falls under chiropractic, chiropractic is a philosophy, science, and art of things natural, a system of adjusting the segments of the spinal column by hand only for the correction of the cause of dis-ease. And so if anything that I do in my office is a natural system that looks to detect and correct vertebral subluxation so that people can express their fullest amount of life and be reconnected, that's what I do. I do chiropractic. Like, I don't do Thompson, I don't do activator, I don't do those things. Yes, I use those techniques, but I am not this doctor. That'd be like calling yourself a contractor and you're like, I'm a drill contractor. Like, you're the guy with the drill, like, oh yeah, I build houses, but all I do is have the hammer, right? You don't build the house, you just hit nails. And so like, if that's what you want to do, like, if you're saying like, I am this person or whatever, it's like, that's awesome. But all you do is run that protocol, right? And so for me, in my eyes, I like to use as many of the different techniques, use them, not be them, but I use them and best custom tailor this care to people. All that being said, like, that's my conviction, right? Like, if I don't know all these different chiropractic techniques, I think that's the key word, is chiropractic techniques. I'm not doing soft tissue release. I'm not doing acupuncture. I'm not doing any of this other stuff. But, the more that I know chiropractic, the more I know that I can serve people with it. And so that's why I measure it. That's why, whether you measure with the x-ray, whether you're measuring with anything, but measure, do something. Do something to let people know that you're not just guessing. Because they deserve better than that, right? You don't want someone to just guess. Like, you wouldn't bring your car into the mechanic shop and say like, hey, my car squeaks, and him be like, oh, well, I think you got to replace your transmission. And you're like, what do you mean you think? You didn't test anything. And he's like, yeah, well, I think you got to replace your transmission. And it's like, why? And it's like, I don't know. That's just what feels right. That's what's calling me. That's awesome, dude. Use your inquisitive nature to find what is best for people, and then have some sort of system to measure it, to be like, yes, this is it, right? Because people are paying their hard-earned time, their hard-earned money, and their trust, which is the most important thing. They're giving that to you. And so people are going to trust you with everything that they work hard for and everything that they have such a limited amount of. Like, deliver on that and be good at what you do. Yeah, I think that's what I got. I feel complete with that thought. Another thing that I'm super fired up about right now is the fact that, like, people climb skyscrapers with no sort of belay or harness or anything. Like, they straight just scale skyscrapers. Yeah, that blows my mind too. Like, just as much as like chiropractic blows my mind, but like, it also blows my mind that people are just like, yes, I'm him. I climbed this skyscraper. It's called free solo climbing. I had no idea what this was. I came across it the other day on the internet. And yeah, people climb skyscrapers without any sort of harnessing or anything. Like 160 something stories of skyscrapers. Like, how do we not how do we not talk about that every day? Like, hey, there's this guy that climbed a skyscraper. Like, that's just straight glass, dog. Like, it's just glass, and you're climbing it 103, who knows how many feet, like 160 stories, and they do it in like 45 minutes. Like, what the? That's crazy. Yeah, those are the things that fire me up. Helping people, giving people the help that they deserve, and letting them know that they're in the right place, and that people climb skyscrapers by themselves without like free climb sky. It's just insane. Anyway, if you stuck with me this long to hear about the skyscrapers, look it up, send me videos, and let me know that you also think that it's absolutely insane. And then, like and follow the podcast, all those deals. But thanks so much for listening to me. We love you guys. We're here to support you guys. And thanks for listening to the What Now podcast. Bye.